Okay, so this is a demo of the Possible World Explorer for the creation of an ontology about hand anatomy. So the first step will be to create the important classes about the different components of the hand. So first a class for hands, a class for palms, which are parts of hands, a class for fingers, a class for phalanx, and you can see that each time a class is created, you can see in the adjunct list on the right that each thing, something can be figured or not. On here, we simply made disjoint the 5 classes to say that finger cannot be hands. So here you see we have stated finger and only finger is possible. Now we will create the different kinds of fingers as subclasses of class finger. So the thumb, the index finger, and so on. And for instance, you can see that something can be an index finger or not be an index finger. On the little finger. So now we have created 5 kinds of little fingers, and we make them disjoint classes to say that an index finger cannot be a little finger, and so on. We do the same for the phalanx. So there are 3 kinds of phalanx. The proximal phalanx, the middle phalanx, and the distal phalanx at the end of fingers. Again, we select those 3 subclasses and make them disjoint. Okay, so at this stage we have created all the different components of the hand, and the next step will be to create the properties. So here we have only one property as direct part, and we simply create, yes, if you open as direct part you can see that everything can be a part of anything. And here for convenience we add a property inverse so that we can read the property in both directions, which we call is direct part of. At this stage we have defined the signature of the ontology, but we have defined no constraints, so everything can contain everything and be part of everything. We will first look at her hand. We can see that her hand must be a hand and cannot be any other kind of element. We can see that the hand can have as direct part anything, so different kinds of fingers, the hand, and with the green button we will select what must be true. So here we say that every hand has direct part, some middle finger, some ring finger, and some thumb. Then the next suggestion is as direct part hand or not as direct part hand, and of course hand has no hand as direct part, no nail as direct part, has a palm as direct part, and has no phalanx as direct part. It remains possible for the hand to be part of a finger, of nail, and so on. So we will exclude this by pushing the green button on the negated adjunct. So a hand is not part of a nail, is not part of a palm, and is not part of a phalanx, but we let the possibility for her hand to be part of something else if later we want to extend the ontology with arms, for instance, or the entire body. Okay, so we have put all constraints about hand, and now we are looking at palm. So what a palm can have as direct part? No nail, no palm of course, and no phalanx. But still we let the possibility for a palm to have another kind of part that may be introduced later. The palm is only a direct part of a hand. It must be the case. And of course it cannot be the part of nail or a phalanx. So now we have fully constrained what a palm can be part of and can have as a part. And we go on with other kinds of elements. So we can look first at fingers in general, and then we'll see later the particular kinds of fingers. So finger has no nail as direct part, and of course a finger has a phalanx. It must have a distal phalanx, and it must have a proximal phalanx, because every finger has distal and proximal phalanx, but not all fingers have middle phalanx, so we'll have the possibility to have it or not. What a finger can be part of: it must be part of hand, it cannot be part of nail, and cannot be part of phalanx. So now we have defined the constraints that apply to fingers in general. And what we do now is to look at the different kinds of fingers. So the index finger, for instance, if we select it, now we look at index fingers, and now we can specify that it has a middle phalanx, and we can exclude the absence of a middle phalanx. We do the same for all, for each finger. So little finger has a middle phalanx, the same for middle finger. The ring finger has a middle phalanx. However, the thumb has no middle phalanx, so we exclude it. Okay? So we have done it for fingers. Next step is about phalanx. So we do follow the same strategy than for fingers. So phalanx can have a nail or not, depends. It must be part of some finger, and it is not part of a nail. We can look at the different kinds of finger, but we can't say that a particular phalanx is part of a particular finger. Now if we focus on distal phalanx, then indeed a distal phalanx must have a nail. Okay, and the same for all kinds of fingers, but we can't specify one particular kind of finger, because every kind of finger has a distal phalanx on the nail. So the next step, we can hide this. The next step is to look at the other kind of phalanx. A middle phalanx has no nail. And finally, the proximal phalanx has no nail. So we can remove having a nail. So we have done the job for phalanx. It just remains to look at nails. Nail cannot have a nail as direct part. It must be part of some phalanx, but not any phalanx. We can already see that here can only be part of distal phalanx, but it's not yet necessary. We can make it necessary here. And that's it. We have completed the expression of all constraints about hand anatomy.